Hey guys, and welcome to my first ever bullet journal video. Yes, it's only taken me 6+ months of running both a YouTube channel and an Instagram account called Canadian Journal Junkie to finally make a video about journaling. So just a quick primer for those who don't know. The bullet journal system was created by Ryder Carroll. The simplest way and the quickest way I can describe it to you is to simply quote his website, which is bulletjournal.com. The bullet journal is a customizable and forgiving organization system. It can be your to-do list, sketchbook, notebook, and diary, but most likely it will be all of the above. It will teach you to do more with less. Essentially, Ryder Carroll came up with the original bullet journal system as a way to get organized, and then over the last few years, the planning and creative communities have just run with it. If you Google bullet journal or its nickname, Bujo, B-U-J-O, you will find a million different articles, Instagram posts, YouTube videos, and Pinterest pins with a million different ways to use your journal. Some people tend to be purists and say if you aren't using every piece of the original bullet journal system in the way that it was intended, then you're not really bullet journaling. And others say if you decorate your Bujo and you don't take a minimalist approach, you aren't really bullet journaling. But both of these arguments are ridiculous because, as I quoted just a second ago, the creator of the bullet journal himself has said that your journal can be whatever you want it to be. It can be fancy, it can be plain, it can follow the original system to a T or not follow it at all. It can take you a year to fill it up, or you can fill it up in a week. You can do whatever you want. So as far as my personal Bujo journey is concerned, I first heard about it in the summer of 2016 and I decided to give it a try. I always need to be more organized, and I had been wanting some sort of a journaling outlet for my thoughts and my feels, and so I tried it out, but I had some trouble sticking with it, which I will get into. And it wasn't until I discovered the creative side of bullet journaling that I really fell in love with it. I was really into scrapbooking about 10 years ago, but unfortunately that all fell by the wayside just due to various life events. And I don't really have much to scrapbook about right now, but I had still really been missing having that physically creative outlets in my life, like making things with my hands rather than digitally. So once I started seeing everyone's massively beautiful and creative bullet journal layouts, I thought that maybe being more creative with my journal could give me that outlet that I had been looking for. So I got really into it, as you can tell. I'm on my third journal now. And eventually I started to regularly spam my personal Instagram account about it, but I think that started to get really annoying for the people who didn't care. So I decided to make a separate Bujo account, and initially I had called it Canadian.Bujo. But once I decided to make this YouTube channel, I changed the name to Canadian Journal Junkie because the terms bullet journal and Bujo have been copyrighted by Ryder Carroll, and I didn't want to run the risk of getting dinged. And then somehow I got sidetracked off of talking about my bullet journal and have just ended up making haul videos and getting really into crafting. But I have to say I would not have found the crafting community here on YouTube and learned about all the different ways that you can paper craft outside of scrapbooking and card making if it wasn't for getting into creative bullet journaling in the first place. And I do still use my bullet journal. Like I said, this is my third one here. This is the one that's in progress. So after that long ass introduction, I thought I would walk you through all of the peaks and valleys of my bullet journal experience. It can be really difficult sometimes to stay motivated to use your Bujo, especially when you use it as a creative outlet and you see all of the gorgeous, seemingly flawless spreads on Instagram and whatnot. But trust me, most people's journals don't look like that. Mine certainly doesn't. So here, I will show you. So my first bullet journal was a soft cover dotted A-size Moleskine. Again, if you're new to the community, the preferred journal size is typically A5. And the preferred page style is dot grid, but you can use whatever you want. You can use lines, regular grid, blank, whatever. A5 dotted is just what a lot of people, myself included, prefer, but you can use whatever works for you. So this particular journal covers the summer of 2016, and then I fell off the wagon until the January of 2017, so that's in here too. A lot of people like starting new journals at the beginning of a new year, but unless I'm right at the end of the book, I feel like that's a massive waste of paper and waste of money, so I don't do that. So as you can see, I decorated the cover with some Pokemon stickers due to my Pokemon Go obsession, especially in 2016. And I'm weird, I decorate my covers when I'm finished the journal. I don't know why, I just do. And I labeled it with stickers from my Leuchtturm, which is the journal I got into next. And as you can see from the spine, Leuchtturm stickers don't really like Moleskine spines apparently. I'd say this first journal is where I learned a lot about my journaling style, including my journal preferences. For starters, I learned that I really don't like Moleskines. The paper is very prone to ink bleeding and ghosting, which drives me crazy. and the soft cover at least made it really hard to like journal in bed and things like that. This might be a little awkward. This book does not lay flat, which is something else I don't like. So I have to keep one hand on everything to show you. So on the first page here we have the contact information page, which as you can see I did not fill out with any seriousness. Next up is my index, which was very short-lived because I started a new one later in the journal when I rebooted it in January. This was my first attempt at a collection, and as you can see it was a major fail because I never actually put anything in it. Again, if you are new to bullet journaling, collections are where you can group a bunch of stuff together, be they to-do lists, brain dumps, or in this case, lists of books you want to read. Collections can hold whatever you want them to hold, and they can be really fun to put together, and you can get really creative, but you also have to actually put stuff in them, which I did not do here. Moving on. This is another failed collection, movies and or TV shows to watch. It has one movie on it, Fruitvale Station, and I still haven't watched that. Now as you can see here, this is what I mean about the ink bleed. Not only can you totally see what's on the next page, but it actually bled through to the page before it. And to be fair, I was using a Sharpie for a lot of this journal, not knowing that Sharpies, like all alcohol-based markers, bleed through everything regardless of paper weight. So part of the reason for how bad this is because I was using the wrong type of marker, so keep that in mind. Unless it's a Sharpie pen, do not use Sharpies in your journal because it will bleed like crazy. This was my first attempt at a goal/habit tracker, which is another popular item to put in your bullet journal. I covered up what the goals were because some of them were a little bit private, but I clearly gave myself way too much space for goals and I didn't have that many to track. I do still do some goal and habit tracking in my journal, and you'll see that later. On this page I had a daily gratitude log, but for me it was more like gratitude/general good things that happened. This is also something that's very popular within the bullet journal community. I've long since changed the format on this, so that's something that happens a lot. When you do it regularly, do journaling regularly, you do end up changing how you do things. And then after that, I pretty much just journaled in here. I didn't really have any need to use my journal as like a planner, so I just did a lot of rambling instead. You can see that down here I eventually figured out that using a ballpoint pen would get rid of some of my ink bleed issues, and it did. I did some weight tracking on this page, nothing fancy, and then more journaling, which I've covered up and clipped together because it's all private stuff. Now we've moved on to the August 2016 goal and habit tracker. As you can see, it dawned on me not to take up 2 pages with it, but as you might be able to see, I don't feel show up on camera, but even using a ballpoint pen in this journal makes for a lot of ghosting. Again, it might not show up, but you can see like there's a white line and then a dark line, a light line and then a dark line, and that's the dark lines are where there's writing, and that's with the ballpoint pen. So I was just always really unhappy with the paper quality in the Moleskine. I know some people love it, but it wasn't for me. Again, we have a gratitude/positivity list on this page, followed by some more private journaling. September goals, which, judging by how empty this is, I clearly wasn't very good at keeping up with. September positivity. So here, I sort of have it marked like journaling, but I had started to plan out more creative layouts for October, but then I ended up falling off the wagon before I actually made any of them. There's some more October planning here. And then we're moving into January planning when I decided to get back into bullet journaling. A bit more planning here, and then this is the fresh start at the beginning of 2017. And by this point here as well, I was so fed up with the bleeding and ghosting in this journal that I ended up doubling up the pages and taping them together. I don't know if that will show, but I've got like scotch tape in all the corners, and I think later I scotch taped them in the middle. They're in the middle too. Again, you probably can't tell, but yeah, I taped everything, the pages all together because the ghosting was just so bad and the bleeding was so bad it was driving me crazy. Now, the good thing was that because Moleskines don't come with page numbers, you have to put your own in. That allowed me to stick the pages together without like throwing off the numbering system, so that was a positive. Here we have my second, also barely used index, getting a little fancier with the styling. Here I actually filled out a movies and shows collection, and it goes on for quite a few pages, actually. This is my The Last Time I collection, and it's to keep track of things that you only do like semi-regularly, like switching out your toothbrush or backing up your phone or your tablet or your computer, that sort of thing. It's for stuff that you don't do regularly enough that you might remember when the last time was you did it. Got some weight tracking again, and this is where I started experimenting with daily layouts. I tried doing some of the goal and habit tracking on each day rather than a separate chart, and I also gave myself some space to try out some of the Rock Your Handwriting prompts. Rock Your Handwriting is a monthly challenge which allows you to practice your handwriting or your hand lettering or whatnot in just a creative way with different prompts to answer. I will link the site for that below as well. Oh, and I also tried tracking the good stuff in the daily layouts as well, and I also left myself space for a brain dump if necessary, and I realize now that 2 pages per day on opposite sides of the page is more than a little unwieldy. Oh, and this here is where I first started to experiment with washi tape. Don't experiment with washi, kids, it's the gateway drug to crafting. So after many pages of dailies, I started making a weekend to-do list, which was really a help with getting things done, and I eventually incorporated that later into my journaling experience. This is where I started doing normal 2-page spreads for my days rather than having it broken up over 2 sides of the same page, but it's still way too unwieldy and takes up way too much space. Another to-do list, and then all of the bleeding on this side because apparently I still hadn't gotten the memo on Sharpies. Evidently, I decided to go back to the chart for tracking at some point during the month, and once again I gave myself way too much space for it. Okay, this is why I went back to the chart, to shrink my daily layouts down to 1 page a day instead of 2, which makes sense. Here we have another collection, stuff I want/need to buy. Changed up my font style a little bit for my dailies, and you will see this font a lot because it's the only hand lettering I can do so far, and I still screw up a lot. And then we come to the end of January, and there's a couple of blank pages, followed by a little bit of planning for my next journal and figuring things out there. And yeah, that's it. So that was my first hot mess of a bullet journal. And this video is already way longer than I thought it was going to be, so we're going to have to continue this in part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one.